Korean mythology. Gods and goddesses. Hanul, or Hanulnim. Birth name is Hwanin. Also called Sangjae, a heavenly king or the highest deity. Also known simply as Hanul, or heaven, or god of heaven. He is the sky god of Chindoism and Joongshanism. He is essentially the Korea's version of Zeus. He is the father to all other Korean gods. Hwanin had a son named Hwanung, who wished to live on earth. Every day Hwanung would peer over the edge of heaven down into the earth in sadness. When questioned by his father, Hwanung answered that he worried for the fate of the mortals and that he wished to rule them in order to bring peace and justice into their kind. Moved by his son's devotion, Hwanin allowed him to descend into the world and rule. He gave his son 3 heavenly heirlooms, along with a group of 3,000 servants, and ordered the 3 lords of wind, rain and clouds to follow him. Hwanung left for Earth with 3,000 followers. They landed on Baekdu Mountain, where they founded Sinsi, the city of God. He gave himself the title of Heavenly King. There was a sandalwood tree in the area they had descended to. Every day, a bear and a tiger came to the sandalwood tree to pray to Hwanung. One day, Hwanung decided to give the tiger and bear 20 bulbs of garlic, and some divine mugwort each. He told them that, if they were to eat nothing but the garlic and mugwort, and stayed in a cave away from sunlight for 100 days, he would turn them into humans. Both the tiger and the bear agreed and went back to their caves. The tiger could not hold back its hunger and left the cave before even 21 days were up. The bear, however, stayed true to her word, and after only 21 days was transformed into a beautiful woman. She was so grateful that she would honor Hwanung every day with offerings. Unfortunately, over time, she had grown lonely and prayed to Hwanung for a child. Hwanung decided to make her his wife, and she gave birth to the god Dangoon. The name Dangoon means altar prince in sandalwood. Dangoon was the legendary god founder of the ancient kingdom of Gojoseon. Gojoseon began ruling northern Korea in 2333 BC. Dangoon established the walled city of Occidal and named his new kingdom Joseon. This kingdom would last from 2333 BC to 108 BC. Dangoon not only created the first Korean kingdom but also created the Korean race itself. Dangoon ruled for a total of 1,000 years before choosing to become a spirit and live a life of meditation at the heavenly lake on Mount Paektu. They are the 3 mythical founders of Korea: the father, the son, the grandson trio. Hwanin, or divine regent. In the traditional Dangoon mythology, Hwanin is portrayed as the emperor of heaven himself. Hwanung, or supreme divine regent, is Hwanin's son who in the traditional Dangoon mythology descended to the peak of a sacred mountain long ago to bring civilized government, and thus benefit humanity. Dangoon Wangjeom, or grandson of heaven, is the half-human half-divine son of Hwanung. Dangoon was the fabled founder of Gojoseon, the first Korean kingdom, around present-day Liaoning, northeast China and the Korean peninsula. Miruk, he is the major creator god among the Korean gods. Through him the world was created, but when angered he also caused much of the world's suffering. Sakka, a trickster god, who is involved in the Korean creation myth. Ultimately, he becomes the first ruler of the world through deceit. Strangely, his name is also used to refer to Siddhartha Gautama in Korean. Misu, he's Sangjae's son and the god of the sun. He wears a crow feather headdress, carries a magic sword, and drives a chariot pulled by 5 dragons. He is the founder of Baeo Kingdom and later fathered Gochumwon, who founded the Goryeo Kingdom. Delum, she's the goddess of the moon and sister to Misu. She was a girl named Ulsan. She climbed so high into the heavens, she reached the moon, becoming the goddess of the moon. Jakeyoungbi, she's the goddess of agriculture, bringing the gift of farming to humankind. A particularly strong figure, she is primarily an earth goddess, and also a goddess of love. She is independent, courageous, and makes decisions based on logic rather than emotion. She fell in love with a godly youth named Moon Do-ryong, who came down to earth from heaven to study abroad, but pretended she didn't like him at all. Instead, she disguised herself as a boy, and studied with him in a school for 3 years. Moon Do-ryong none the wiser that his male friend is actually the cute girl he met when he first arrived at the Earth. After she finally spilled the secret by calling him an idiot, Moon Do-ryong immediately confessed his feelings for her. But things took a bad turn when Moon Do-ryong were forced back into heaven. Because the couple's families disapproved of their relationship, Jakeyoungbi didn't give up. And she ventured into heaven to meet Moon Do-ryong again. After passing many ordeals like crossing a red-hot iron bridge filled with spikes, she was accepted by the Moon family and became a goddess of the earth and farming. Yoma, the great king Yoma is the king of the underworld. He is the supreme ruler and fifth of the 10 kings of the underworld, who judge the sins of the deceased and decide what to do with them. He is the first person to have faced death, as in the story of Yoma in Hindu mythology. In fact, Yoma is the Korean pronunciation of Yama. Like every other powerful god, he has many powers including shape-shifting and reviving dead people. Paritg, a rejected princess. The 7th princess is the Korean goddess who guides dead souls to the underworld, leading the souls of the dead to their resting place. Because she was the only person to purposefully travel to the underworld and return, she was honored as a goddess of the boundary between the two worlds. Samseong, Halmong, she's the goddess of childbirth and protector of mothers. Gamonjongagi, goddess of fate and luck. Born as the 3rd daughter of a beggar couple, her family suddenly became amazingly rich due to their daughter's strange nature of making everyone lucky around her. After death, she became the goddess of determining people's destiny. Joongshan, she is the goddess of fire and hearth in Korean shamanism, and goddess of home, specifically the kitchen. Joongshan protects the warm center of every household. And sometimes, she's viewed as a friendly goddess who visits with women in the kitchen, and even offers advice and gossips with the women. Sanshin Ryong, gods of the mountain. He is depicted as an old man with a white beard, accompanied by a tiger. As guardians of the mountain, they usually live deep inside the mountain, but sometimes appear in sadangs, shrines, at the base of the mountain, listening to people's wishes and pleas for help. Chulsungshan, 7 gods of the Great Dipper. They bless people with good luck and longevity, and thus one of the most commonly worshipped gods of Koreans. Their worship dates back to the Bronze Age. They are usually depicted as 7 brothers, wearing government uniform or monk's attire, since they are sometimes called 7 Buddhas. However, some descriptions list them as 3 brothers and 4 sisters, or 7 sisters. Yongwang, the Dragon Lord, dragons living in lakes, rivers and seas. They are rulers of the aquatic animals and in charge of controlling the weather, and thus very important to farmers. They can take human forms and mate with humans. It is said that Wang Jian, the warlord who founded the Goryeo dynasty, was the grandson of the Western Sea's Yongwang.